Hello and welcome to this video. And my aim, it's got 10 slides and I'm hoping to do it in 10 minutes. Or 10 more slides. So I thought you'd like to see what the AQA have to say. And the first thing they have to say is how you should start your essay. Here it is. Where students immediately set out the narrative of the passage in the story of the passage in their opening and introduction, making it clear they understood the trajectory and what happens, they were immediately achieving well and showing clear understanding. It's often helpful for students to identify the key events, whether there's a particular climactic moment, what events or interactions appear to be leading towards how the narrative of the passage concludes. Do an arc is what they're saying. Where students simply reworded the introductory blurb, I didn't read any of those, or listed the elements of political and social protest writing that they intended to write about in the extract divorced from the story, they were on less secure grounds. So I'm going to write about rebellion, I'm going to write about propaganda, or writing it on its own, that's no good. You have to have it how it comes up here. So we like to tell you to think to yourself what is the political stuff here, and then go straight into the arc. You can merge the two if you'd rather. So the arc is so important that AQA actually write it out twice for examiners in their mark scheme. So here's what it says about AO5. The extract describing an occasion where the blonde baby politician gives a speech to welcome new defenders, thank existing ones for their service. The description of the setting of the wall and the dystopian story world of the others who attempt to enter the land protected by the wall. The meditations by the participant narrator who is listening to the speech and expressing his thoughts about how we can get on. The motivational speech and the presented utopian view of the world of help in exchange for the service of the defenders, the warning against the others and any infiltrators, the extract ending with the narrator being called onto the stage as an example of good service, and the insincere ending as the phrases from earlier in the speech are repeated. So that's how they blocked it up for examiners. There are many different ways, that's one. And they do another one when they tell the examiners about AO2, the methods. Here it is. The focalization of the action through the narrating defender is representing the speech of the politician to point up its nuances, the gradual revelation of the authoritarian regime, like getting clipped, the static nature, the static nature of the extract with the focus on the narrator's thoughts and responses. So that's two places in the mark scheme where they really want you to see how that passage moves. So this is we're on to a new thing. Students who opened paragraphs, this is the AQA, students who opened paragraphs identifying a relevant element such as xenophobia, manipulation, or political corruption, and then explored how this element was portrayed within the narrative, were quickly achieving well. And I've summed that up with think, protest element, and method. It's great to change the protest element. If you really can't, you can't. But you want to write about the use of propaganda by the politician's speech, by giving you the whole politician's speech, or people being conditioned and being resistant to being conditioned by access to the narrator's thoughts. So think of starting paragraphs that way, and think of starting, if you only write one paragraph, you only ever do it once. So the more times you decide to, right, I'm going to start a new paragraph, it makes you go protest and what method more often. Top tip there. So what does the AQA say about methods? RSpec B has always valued analysis of more complex authorial methods such as the use of voices, settings, structural features and form over word level analysis. In this passage, the narrative perspective was key to fully understanding the extract. The passage is told from the biased point of view of Kavanagh, a defender on the wall, who is simultaneously disdainful and cynical about the politician and his speech, while also feeling tempted by the idea of the power he represents, and appears at least partly influenced by his rhetoric. So they want those big things, and they're pretty good. Some people got lost in a bit of alliteration and a bit of repetition. They're just lower level, aren't they, than being able to say things about the narrator and him mocking the speaker. So it comes up again in the examiner's report. Those students who recognised and commented on this internal conflict and demonstrated a comprehension of the often mocking tone or the way in which Kavanagh's views of the politician shifted over the course of the extract were immediately achieving well. So there's a bit of mockery, there's a bit of wanting to be like him because he has a nice life. There's a bit of, really, those others are being othered, but like it is a bit frightening, isn't it? All of those, that change. So thinking, who is telling me this story? Okay, and perhaps more than any other question, this is the last one from AQA, it's vital that students approach the extract without preconceptions about what they will find. They need to respond to the text in front of them rather than other passages they may have read or based on the issues they've explored in their set texts. For example, there were several students who wanted to discuss the misogynistic nature of the society and the representation of women. It's not central in this passage, and many fail to acknowledge that there's a female character, Hiffer, who's also being rewarded. So just don't have a checklist. You haven't got to talk about gender. You haven't got to talk about class. There's nothing you have to write about. So having a checklist, none of you did this, so that's really brilliant. The gender thing. Maybe people felt they had to write about the setting. So I'll come on to that. But anyway, we're good on checklists and nobody has to go into meanings that just aren't there. Well done to you. I said the last one was the last slide, but it's actually, this one's the last one from the examiners. Finally, it's always worth reminding students of the importance of getting to the end of the passage. There were many students who didn't get this far and tended only to focus on the first half of the extract, thereby missing some of the central elements that appeared later and in the narrative arc. So you could dump a bit of that setting about the briefing room or something. I mean, the wall's a great setting to write about. The briefing room, not so much. People went on and on and on about it. Maybe the speech about the others, which is sort of broken, is sort of frightening the narrator. The narrator's sort of being tempted by that speech about the others. That's a better thing to write about. So getting hold up with the setting, unless there's something brilliant to say, head for the later parts of the passage. So the next two slides is just from moi, and in discussion with Mark, obviously. And I use the word discussion lightly. Here, I've got three style helpers on this slide and 3 on the next one. So it's not dialogue, it's a speech by the politician. Dialogue, I think I've put this next. Hang on, let me remember what I've done. Does it do? Yes. A speech is one person and a dialogue is 2. So Torvald makes a great big long speech of having broad wings to shield Nora. That's a speech. And then there's bits of dialogue between them. So be clear, I have so many people put dialogue when they meant speech. You'll have it crossed out. I probably spotted it. So throughout the extract, the regime is blah, 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 blah. What should you have put? Oh yeah, in the extract, because they were talking about the gradual revelation of the authoritarian regime, or even the change in the narrator's thoughts and perspective. And if you put throughout, you mean it's the same from beginning to end. So just put in, which is normal English. My third style helper is the word mentions. I think you're putting it because you think it's posher than says. So it doesn't mean says. It doesn't mean describes. Mention means saying something really casually and quickly. I just mentioned it. I didn't want to make a big deal of it. I just mentioned it. You meant says or describes. Don't try to use throughout and mentions and get it wrong. So 3 more. Don't know why that's doing that political thing. The narrator's dislike towards the politician. Actually, you're better than last year's cohort. They were terrible with their prepositions. This little word after dislike. Now, in the English I speak, which I think is pretty ordinary. Oh, did I not put it on? You tell me. Oh no, I know I didn't put it on because I was so disdainful of not knowing what the word should be after dislike, what you have dislike, what comes after it, you should know. Okay, now the next one is this naming of nouns and verbs, which some people get wrong as well. But if you tell me that breeder is a noun, that's quite simple, isn't it? Or at band 2, or at best band 3. You want farming vocabulary, denial of emotion, just being devoted to the state. You want those sorts of things. You don't just want to tell me that's a noun. Get off nouns and verbs. And our last one, none of these were too bad with you. I'm just giving you them in case it is you. This is significant because try to avoid writing that. It makes me think you want to say it's important because, and that's not the question. So you should put this means, this reveals, this shows, this is an example of. At a push, this signifies the racism of the regime. This signifies the gender politics of the regime, something like that. So come off, this is significant because that's no good at all. So those were just 6 quick style things. And really, it went really, really well. I'm very pleased. I shall leave you there.